On behalf of Banner, we're just humbled to be part of this project. There's certain people, there's certain projects, including present company, yourself included, that when they come, it's just a yes. And fortunately, Banner is an organization that leaned in. Our president, Chuck Lane's here, and I've got a lot of team members here as well. They're the ones that help make this happen, and I was just able to help kind of liaison and facilitate it. But it's the stories and the ladies that were featured in the film that we got to interact with on the day of the ribbon cutting. And, you know, it wasn't just the experience leading up to prison, the experience with them doing the art, and then hopefully the rehabilitation. One of the things that really touched me was one of the ladies talked about completing a piece of art, and it was the first time since she's been in prison she's been able to give something to her daughter, and what that meant for her, and how that, you know, hopefully changed her perspective, hopefully her relationship with her daughter, and she felt like a mom because she was able to give something.
What do you think this means in terms of, there's a lot of healthcare executives here tonight, and many who Brandon and I have the honor to work with. For you, what does this mean in terms of humanizing healthcare? It's holistic, right? And it's not just people who are, tonight we're talking about some of the stories in Perryville, but this goes far beyond. What does this signify?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's about communities. I think that came up, and how do we create healthy communities? Individuals coming out of prison, the vast majority come out on Medicaid, and how do we help connect for their health, which also is going to help them have better lives in the community, lives for their family. So that's an important bridge and an important interface. And so if we can leverage things like, for us, some of the community reinvestment programs that Gil runs for us at Banner University Family Care.
Gil is awesome.
To create these types of opportunities that create hope, that then create great transitions, and then more engaged individuals in the community. These are our neighbors. Banner has 35,000 employees in Arizona, so these are folks that we're interacting with, we're working with. Our kids are going to school with their parents, and so it's just an important piece to be part of the community.
Brandon, how are you feeling?
I feel good. It is crazy. A lot of anxiety. I'm glad we saw this process through. What was supposed to start out as like 3 small 2-minute stories when we first started on this project, and then, you know, a crazy idea that I get. We all just kind of looked at each other and said, let's just make a short film on this, not understanding the full depth of what that would actually be. But to me, at the end of the day, it's a story that needs to be told. I think so often we'll turn on Netflix, we'll turn on Hulu, and it's so often sensationalizing the crimes of which landed these folks behind bars, rather than focusing on the underlying cause of what people do to make terrible adult life decisions. And so often that is rooted in their childhood experience. And so going into this project, there was one thing that I wanted people to take away, and that's humanizing the incarcerated individuals inside Perryville Prison, and a full understanding that if we give them an opportunity, that people deserve a second chance, but we have to be willing to create programs that offer them a second chance. Because so often in society and the way we have grown up in just U.S. history when it comes to corrections, we have thrown them behind bars and thrown away the key, right? And not offered them a chance to heal from the trauma that led them down that path. And so if we want a safer community, if we want a stronger community through workforce development, right, we have to come together in order to be bold and create these programs, right? Because both things can be true. These people could have committed some pretty horrific acts, and they also deserve a second chance if they're willing to take that second chance. And so 2 weeks ago, you know, thank you to Jim and Banner. I didn't realize he would always say yes if I ever came to him. It's good to know, Gil. I know you're here too. No, it's that, you know, I can come up with a crazy idea, but I can't do it alone, right? You have to have a willing partner like Director Thornell to even give us the space to say, let's do this. So 2 weeks ago, we started the first ever holistic healing facilitator program. We're now taking 27 incarcerated individuals from Perryville Prison, putting them through a 33-week-long, 200-hour certification program that is focused trauma-informed, by the way. And so at the end in November, these 27 women will be certified trauma-informed yoga instructors, so that when they re-enter the workforce, they're going to come out with certifications, even as a BHT, that is going to make them so desirable. And even then, I came and I pitched that idea to Jim, and Jim calls me back and he says, we're down, we're going to do this thing. And he goes, but I'm going to one-up you here. And I said, how are you going to one-up this? And he goes, banner is set, and we are willing to hire these incarcerated women when they re-enter in the next 3 years to help work with their populations, right? And so that is partnerships. That's right. That's a community coming together. That's, having a director finally in Arizona. And as a journalist here for more than a decade, we always haven't had the leadership that Director Thornell gives us today. Where past directors would have never even taken a LinkedIn message that I sent him and responded within hours. And so all things have to align. And I always believe this: when our intentions are true and our intentions are good, and things align perfectly for the better of so many other people. And that's what's happened here, right? It's Jim saying yes, and it's Director Thornell being open to innovative ideas and partners. And that's why this came to be. I just want people to see this film and begin to humanize it. These are humans. These are people incarcerated behind bars. And if we begin to change that narrative, we remove the stigma. And we just have better successes in so many other places in our society.
I want to leave you with the final word, and then if there's a few audience questions, we'll take them. But this doesn't come without criticism, obviously. So there are some who say, look, these people have, and some of the crimes are terrible. When I was in there, and some of the women I was talking to and getting to know, and I said, well, what are you in here for? I'm in here for life. I don't want to tell you what I did, because you won't want to talk to me if I told you that. So I just wanted to leave you with the word about, you're not trying to excuse any of that. So when people criticize you and say, well, why should these women, or in Lewis or other prisons, why do they deserve this? Trauma healing, yoga, all these things. Why?
Well, there's a few reasons, and they impact all of us. The first reason really is about the individual. When my wife and I made the decision to come to Arizona, the decision was really based in the idea of just a commitment to helping people, helping a system. And so at the most individual level, the criticism gets rebuked by me, because we have an obligation to help those people. And those people aren't just the individuals who are incarcerated, but they're also our staff who work in those prisons, who endure their own trauma and endure their own barriers and issues and things. And so there's that underlying need to help that individual. But bigger than the individual is the community around us. And in corrections nationally, we have these blinders on to the impact that we really should be making in our communities. And we touched on it in the interview and in the film, but it's a point we're stressing, that as a system that's funded by our taxpayers, that's embedded in our communities, that has the staff leaving our communities to go work in our prisons, we have an obligation to do every single thing we can to make sure that whomever and whenever something returns to the community, whether it's that night with a staff member coming home or an individual releasing after 5, 10, 20 years back into that community, that we've done every single thing we can to make sure that human is better and that human is healthy. And again, my commitment is to doing everything I can to make sure that I leave that mark here while I have the opportunity to do it. And the last word that I'll say, since you gave me the opportunity for it, is, as we look around the audience, as we know who's here, and as you see and hear what you do in the film, the department's committed to that. We have an agency with a storied history, And, you know, when you Google it, you don't like to read what the results are that come up, but the department is committed to that. You can throw a stone right now and hit a department employee in this audience who's committed to everything that was shared in that video. And I think we have an opportunity to capitalize. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And now, is there anyone who wants to ask a quick question? I know it's a school night. Well, actually, kids are off school tomorrow, so maybe we could say, like, but is there anyone who wants to ask a question? Let's see, I see the hands going up. Okay, Amy's gonna help me out here. All right.
And it can't be a family member of Carey either, because I see some shenanigans happening right over there. Carey, beware.
I'm kind of a family member.
And I'm just going to take this moment while I have a hot mic, because it's rare. See, I know this from TV. If they don't cut your mic, you have the great mic and you have the floor. And I just want to take this moment in front of everybody and just give a personal thank you to the two facilitators who work at Art of Our Soul, who go into the prisons each and every day. They do not get enough credit. It is Dylan and it is Carey. They are both people who spent time incarcerated in our state prisons at some point in their lives, and they are two of the most incredible people I've ever had the privilege to be part of their lives and part of their journey. And I'm grateful that you're part of ours. The work that you do by going into the prisons, and the compassion and the empathy and the energy that you share each and every day, and the enthusiasm to receive text messages every morning from you guys, how excited you are to go back into prison. There isn't one day that I don't receive those in the morning. And I just am baffled by that every day. And it's the reason, it's how we make change. And just, I wanted to take this moment to specifically thank the both of you for the work that you both do.
All right, and any questions?
What I just saw was transformative for me personally. And so going back to Oklahoma, how can this is something that I think needs to be replicated across the country, programs like these. So how can this be replicated in prisons and facilities across the country?
Director Thornell. It's all you.
Yeah, you take that
You get
one,
all the hard
Director.
I was promised that this was going to be a step down from the normal day of confronting tough situations. You know, I think it's all about sharing the message, sharing the story, and connections and relationships. You know, one of the things that we spoke a lot about actually in the interview that wasn't shared here is really pushing the system, right, and challenging other directors and other systems to do this very thing. And that's really a responsibility that I think all of us bear, but it's making those connections, you know, and when I am alongside the director of Oklahoma, who I know well, it's about sharing what we're doing here. You know, we oftentimes get caught up in the typical corrections nonsense and criticism and the day-to-day struggles instead of talking about things like this. And so it's really about leveraging the relationships that we've formed in order to create a platform for people like Brandon and others to be able to go to somebody in Oklahoma, like a director and a partner, and find the banner partners in Oklahoma and having those conversations. So it is possible. It's really about many of us using our connections and pushing that, but also then leveraging a documentary like this and using that as evidence to show it visually.
Agreed, yeah.
I think that's the work we have to do.
Agreed.
I love that. And Jim, you want to, by the way, I have a lot of extra sound that'll be included in all the outtakes. I'll run it by you. Jim, you wanted to comment
I was just going to say, maybe to double down on the connection piece. I wouldn't always think that the connections are going to be like, you know, it's great when it's director to director and that starts it, but sometimes it can be more grassroots. Shar Najafi Piper's sitting out there. So Shar connected me to Brandon for the first time, and then I got to meet Brandon, and then through some other community reinvestment we did with Gil and Sarah and other folks on the team, got engaged, which then introduced to Director Thornell. And so it was unexpected, and sometimes it can come from grassroots as well. So it's great when it can start at the top, but when it can also come from the bottom, and then the two meet is where I think the magic happens.
Okay, a few more questions. Aim, okay.
Hi there. I was wondering, I already told my family about this and they're interested. Is there going to be a public release of this, or how is this going to be distributed, this film?
Yes, so we're going live right now, actually, on YouTube. Blank Canvas Doc is the YouTube channel. And so you can go there and then we can share it, and hopefully we have bigger vision, but I can't say what just yet. But right for now, it's going to be on YouTube, and we're going to do a bunch of smaller showings with Arrowette and all of our friends in the community, and so we can do more sessions with Brandon and all of the folks who have something to say on this subject that we think will be important to continue to carry this conversation forward. Amy, you're my Vanna White tonight. Thank you. All right, a couple more questions.
Yeah, this is coming for someone who was formerly incarcerated. I grew up in the justice system, I want to say from the age of 15 all the way to the age of 21. I was incarcerated in the Department of Corrections in Arizona, but in the Tucson facility. The lady stated about what you do in there and how you invest your time in there. And I was actually considered a torpedo. So in other terminology, I was just a runner for the people that were running the prison systems, I guess. But that being said, knowing that art is very powerful and being able to use it for a way to empower people has actually changed my life. And now I work for an organization that uses art and art therapy to be able to empower people, and it's called Sky's the Limit. And I actually now pretty much mentor and work with other young people in the juvenile detention centers. And we talk about prevention, we talk about mental health, but I also tell them, you don't want to go to prison, because if you don't like your parents telling you no, believe me, there's going to be more people telling you no. One thing's for sure is that I have been out of prison for more than 13 years already. I know, it's good. But one thing I wanted to say, that I did come in as a skeptic, mostly because, as a former person that was incarcerated, seeing programs always fail and seeing things not being successful, and, being in there for the time that I spent, and seeing this video, it just shows me the impact that you guys can actually have and the impact you guys can have in people's lives directly. So I thank you guys for everything you guys do.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And if there's one more, Amy, I don't know, I can't see out in the audience. Is there anyone else? Oh, this gentleman right down here in the front, Amy.
I just want to thank you guys. I came home about 1.5 years ago. I've gotten to meet you. I've done the Art of Our Soul program. It was such an amazing experience. I served 13 years in the Department of Corrections. I've been home 1.5 years. I've completed parole. I've completed my interlock. What you guys are doing is such an amazing thing. It's so inspiring. I am also in the process of creating my own nonprofit. So I just wanted to stand up and say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for sharing your stories, and thanks to all of you for coming. B, I want to give you the final word.
No, I just want to say thank you. I was not expecting a showing like this tonight, and I know it takes time out of your day to come here tonight, and I told Carey, I said if it could just be one thing, and it's just a collective of people coming together to be re-energized in their missions in order for criminal justice reform and to be able to build connection and reconnect with others. I'm really just thankful for all the support tonight, and thank you to my friends who come out too.
Thank you guys so very much. Thank you. We appreciate all of you. And to these gentlemen right here for making this happen.
It's going to be great. We do more.